Would you pledge to support legislation to end abortion except for cases involving the life of the mother? Mr. Ward, we'll start with you and come down.
I don't know that I can add much more to what everybody's saying. I think we all are pro-life candidates here, and we believe very much that life begins at conception. I don't know that I can add a whole lot other than sounding like I'm just repeating what the other people have said, but I can tell you that I'm a strong pro-life person, and I would support legislation to protect the unborn.
The District of Columbia recently voted to permit same-sex marriage. Do you support or oppose this action by the district? If you oppose this action, what would you do to stop it? Do you support the Federal Defense of Marriage Act?
I'm a big supporter of the 10th Amendment and believe in states' rights, but this is an issue that can't be dealt with on a state level. The Defense of Marriage Act has to be done on a federal level because exactly as Ron was just saying, if we don't do that, then you're going to have people from Washington, D.C. who will move to Virginia, and then they'll want the same rights that they were afforded in Washington, D.C. So we use the Commerce Clause all the time. And so it's basically being used now about Obamacare against Ken Cuccinelli. But this is one time that I think it should apply. We've got to make it a national issue so that we don't have these problems between the states. So I would support the Defense of Marriage Act.
Mr. Board, this question will start with you and come its way down here. This may be a little unfair because even the President, the Attorney General, and the head of our Department of Homeland Security might have a hard time with this question, but this is a short question. First, have you read the Arizona immigration law? And the second part of that question is, what specific actions or reforms, or reforms, would you propose to our immigration laws?
Well, I have to admit, I have not read the Arizona law, but I am very familiar with what it is because my good friend Corey Stewart up in Prince William County did this 2 years ago. And with tremendous results, he did basically the same thing that they're doing in Arizona. And I've talked at length with him about what the impact it was on their crime rates there, on births in their hospitals that were unpaid for, and then ESOLs in their schools. So it is a huge issue. We've got to deal with immigration, and that's for sure. We've got to close our borders. We've got to get control over the people who are employing illegal immigrants, and we've got to stop that employment. And I think if we do that, then that's going to get the people going back to where they came from. Those two things, I think we've got to secure the borders and make sure that we're going after those people, those employers. Because if we dry up the jobs, we'll dry up the people coming here for them.
Which other candidate in the Republican primary are you the most opposite and why, and what distinguishes you from the other candidates running in this race? Mr. Boyd.
Well, I'm not going to go against one of the candidates up here because this really is a race that's about Tom Perriello, and I'm very much different from Tom Perriello, and he's the person we really have to beat. I've had the opportunity of some experience in being an elected official, and I've had it on the front lines because I'm at a local level. I'm the person who deals with police departments, with emergency services, with park services. Today I just came back from an authority that I'm on that's dealing with water in our county and whether or not to build a multi-million-dollar dam. This is the type of experience that I've got at the grassroots level, understanding the real problems that go on Main Street here. And I think they've lost track of that in Washington, D.C. And I think they need somebody in Washington, D.C. who's been on the front lines, who's had to deal with these issues at your level with the people. And that's why I'm the best person to go to Washington in November.
My last question before I turn to the question that each of you have presented to each other. In Bedford County, we have one of the nation's best Internet Crimes Against Children's task force run by Sheriff Mike Brown. That particular task force is one of the first of the 10 recognized in the nation and has become a leader to protect children from online sexual predators. Based on budget cuts, that program has sometimes been threatened. Do you support that program? What specific measures would you do as a representative to help assist and advance that program?
This is a very good question. It's one that's very close to me because on the Board of Supervisors, we just recently had a presentation from members from Sheriff Brown's office to talk about the seriousness of child pornography and sexual crimes against children. And some of the things that they showed us, even in an open meeting there, were just knocked me away. And I think we absolutely have got to do something about this. We're looking in our own county about the possibility of funding a particular task force to look into this. The statistics on this, ladies and gentlemen, would knock you away. If you've ever seen a presentation that they do, it is amazing. This is a serious crime being perpetrated on our youngest, on the children, and we have absolutely got to fund this thing from a federal level and at our local levels as well. Yes, I would support Sheriff Brown.
This is a question submitted by Mr. Kelvey to be answered by Mr. Boyd. What is your view on embryonic stem cell research?
Well, I think that if we're going to do stem cell research, it should be done on adult stem cells. It should not be done on embryonic cells. There's been an awful lot of success that we've had with the adult cells, which does not involve the death of a child to provide that. And we do need to advance medical science, and there is some really good science that's out there by not having to use the embryonic cells. So that would be what I'd say.
Okay, Mr. Boyd, we will begin with you. Each candidate at this stage has 1 minute to make a closing statement as to why the people in this audience and in the 5th District should vote for you as the candidate for the 5th District. Mr. Boyd, we'll begin with you and move down this way. You have 1 minute.
I want to read out a couple of names of some companies to you. Booz Allen Hamilton, SAIC, Battelle, Khaki, Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems. These are all companies that I've had a hand in bringing them to the 5th District of Virginia. As I mentioned, I actually got the question to begin with what I thought the most important thing is, and that is jobs. We absolutely have to do something about bringing jobs into this state because that's the way that we're going to get our economy going again, and that's the thing that I've had experience doing. Now, sometimes people think that experience is not good. The fact that I've actually gone toe-to-toe with liberals and talked them into cutting taxes and talked them into preserving our personal property rights and other issues. This is something that comes with experience that I've had. It's one of the things that stands me out from all of the people here. And it also, one other thing that we need to say is that we need somebody to have a candidate who can win elections in the tough to get votes of the northern part of this district. This is all about beating Tom Perriello, isn't it? Who's for beating Tom Perriello in November here? That's what we've got to do, and that's what this is all about. That's why I'm the best candidate.